In the storm it comes, hooves pounding down the path, the whole of it lit like a strobe by frenzied flashes of lightning, its arrival heralded by the deafening peals of thunder. It comes, tearing through the black, a black coach drawn by 4 black horses, the black satin ribbons whipping and snapping behind its markers of death. Inside sits the apparition of a man long departed from this earth, a man with the broken heart and soul of the tortured lover, a man staring blankly from his carriage, eyes stained with the melancholy of loss. The carriage races along the South Carolina coast, running from the past that will not be forgotten, from a memory that will never fade. The past has been preserved here in the low country on Hilton Head Island. Near the southern end of the island stands the stony Baynard ruins, the last vestiges of once was a great plantation, a grand example of the economy that continued to sustain the agricultural South as their neighbors to the north embraced industrialization. It was an economy built upon the backs of the oppressed, with slave owners rising to prominence and prosperity through the enslavement of others. European settlers first began arriving here in 1525, although there is archaeological evidence to suggest that the area has been inhabited since 10,000 BC. Spanish sailors arrived on the coast of what would become South Carolina, naming the headland upon which they landed La Punta de Santa Elena, known now as St. Helena, one of the oldest and continually used European names on the North American continent. The French vied early with the Spanish for occupation, and in 1663 the English entered the fray. English Captain William Hilton arrived on the island by way of Barbados on a search for tropical lands on which English plantations could be established. He found what he was looking for on this lush and beautiful island. Christening the place Hilton's Headlands, he began encouraging settlement here immediately after Spaniards and American Indians had been displaced. In 1670, a permanent settlement was established where the Ashley and Cooper Rivers meet. Its settlers named it Charlestown, now Charleston. They found that its rich soil allowed certain labor-intensive crops such as cotton, rice, indigo, and tobacco to thrive. The climate had created no new opportunities for wealth, and a host of individuals came here to test their fortunes. One such individual was Captain Jack Stoney, a patriot raider from the Revolutionary War. Using profits culled from years of looting British cargoes, he built a mansion, shunning brick and wood in favor of tabby, a mixture of oyster shells, sand, and water. The mansion was the centerpiece of what was the largest plantation in Greensboro, comprising over 600 acres of fields dedicated to growing tobacco and cereals. Over 200 slaves might have been working the lands at any given time. Stoney lived here in opulence with his wife and family for 50 years. It's at this point where history merges with legend, and the fascinating story of Baynard Plantation can truly be seen to begin. In 1843, William Eddings Baynard entered the Stoney's life. Some believe he acquired the plantation on the strength of his poker-playing abilities, winning ownership in a hand of the game that proved unlucky for Captain Jack Stoney. Others, including writers Nancy Roberts and Terence Zipke, offer a different explanation. Rather than losing his life's work, it's believed that Stoney gave the plantation to Baynard, a gift to the man who had captured the heart of his other life work, his beautiful daughter Victoria, a stunning vision with long black hair, deep green eyes, and alabaster skin. In Baynard, Stoney had found a man who could run the plantation long after he had gone, but anticipation of the pending nuptials between Baynard and Victoria would only prove to be the prelude to tragedy. It's unclear when exactly Victoria fell ill, but at a time when she should have been celebrating the beauty and ecstasy of true love, She was fighting for her life instead. The illness came quickly but not without warning, at least not to those looking for signs. The day before her wedding, Victoria sat in her bedroom, her hair being brushed by a maid. According to Roberts, the maid heard an owl knock against the window of the home 3 times in a vain attempt to enter. While Victoria thought nothing of the strange occurrence, her maid saw it as an omen, a portent of death. The wedding came and went with nary a disruption. The reception was held in the Stony home, in a magnificent ballroom. When the newly wedded couple took the floor, all agreed that they made the loveliest of couples. Those who congratulated the couple on their union, though, noticed how flushed the blushing bride was, how ill she looked. Someone might normally have said something, but under the circumstances, most attributed her complexion to excitement over the wedding. It wasn't until Victoria collapsed that guests and family realized what has happened. She was carried up to her bedroom to be seen by a doctor. He diagnosed her what he called country fever, and with a heavy heart informed the Stoneys and Baynards that there was little he could do. Already Victoria was delirious with the fever. Her mind's grip on reality as tenuous as her body's grip on life. By morning, with her husband weeping at her side, Victoria had slipped quietly into the great unknown. Baynard, determined to memorialize his wife, called for the immediate construction of a mausoleum. Workmen hurried to erect the structure. Upon its completion, just days later, Victoria was placed within its cold stone walls. Baynard watched as the doors were sealed, his heart heavy with grief. He turned away and walked to his carriage, the carriage that, days earlier, carried him and his wife from the church to the reception. It was now dressed for death, black satin streamers trailing behind. He spurred his horses on, and the carriage tore down the path. When Baynard didn't return, the Stoneys began to worry, their fears only slightly alleviated by reports that his carriage had been seen racing across the South Carolina coastline. Then one day they received a letter with word that Baynard had also contracted country fever. Baynard welcomed and embraced his death, knowing that soon he would be reunited with his beloved. Baynard died shortly after and was buried next to his wife in the Baynard Mausoleum. On the day that Baynard's body was interred in the mausoleum, witnesses throughout the area reported seeing his phantom coach with the ghost of Baynard in it and hearing the pounding hooves of his horses, black satin streamers trailing behind them. Today, Hilton Head Island is the home of over 27,500 residents and a summer destination for more than 1.5 million tourists. The stony Baynard home is a ruin now, a mere shadow of its former splendor and glory. The devastation accompanying the Civil War led to the abandonment of homes and plantations. Grand mansions fell into disrepair, and the stony Baynard home was no exception. The ruins are joined by the foundations of 2 other buildings. One marks what was once a slave dwelling, while the other remains a mystery. And standing in Zion Cemetery is the Baynard Mausoleum, still standing after all these years. To visit the mausoleum is to relive the past, to remember what took place so many years ago when the dreams of a family were swept away by the hands of death. When the black carriage wins its way through Hilton Head, it is the past come to life. People still see the ghostly carriage and the ghost of William Baynard. While visitors may come and go, William Baynard is here still, haunting the island as he is haunted by his past.